3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Police Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network. This is a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Stuart Kovacs is here with me. Moist Mike is here with me as well. And we'll take you all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Michael Grady, the play-by-play voice of the Minnesota Timberwolves, he is going to stop by coming up at the top of the hour at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific today. And we're also going to have some fun today at the expense of some of our coworkers. And it's all in good fun. But coming up 40 minutes from now, we will play you maybe some of the worst audio I've ever heard on this network from someone that I am very close with, someone that is a dear friend, and I have a long-time working relationship with Hot Take Hickey. So you don't want to miss that 40 minutes from now. In an hour 20 from now, we have audio featuring David Shepard, the Good Shepherd, right here on the Infinity Sports Network. And you're not going to want to miss that. That's all I'm going to say. So we give you some advanced teases today. We're going to have some fun today, as we always do. And we're going to share a good laugh or two. Nothing malicious, just a good laugh or two. Everyone, it's a Monday, right? Your weekend may not have got off to, you may have not gone according to plan. If you're a Maple Leafs fan, you guys choked another one away and you couldn't get the job done. If you're a Lakers fan like Stu, you're fearing that J.J. Redick is going to be your next head coach. If you're a Heat fan today, you have Pat Riley squaring off against Jimmy Butler. Basically, Pat Riley telling Jimmy Butler to shut his mouth. So some people may need a pick-me-up on this Monday. We'll try to give that to you. Now, someone that does not need a pick-me-up is Anthony Edwards. And not only does he not need a pick-me-up, Minnesota Timberwolves fans do not need a pick-me-up either. Because what did transpire on Saturday is the best thing to happen so far in the NBA postseason. Because heading into the postseason, a lot of people like yours truly thought that this was going to be a cakewalk for the Denver Nuggets to the NBA Finals. And a lot of people anticipated them to go back-to-back and hoist another Larry O'Brien trophy. Let me be abundantly clear here. The Denver Nuggets series, here's the hot take of the day. It is not over. But Minnesota striking first is masterful and wonderful for the NBA. Because Denver, as I've said numerous times before, is starting to feel like the Kansas City Chiefs. And when you see this Denver team, for them to start that game, and I know basketball's a game of runs. Like yesterday, I know no one really paid attention to the Cavs and Magic series up until Game 7. But when the Magic are up 18 points, even though we know no lead is insurmountable in the NBA, you're not anticipating, even with all that time left, that the Cavs were going to come on back. But Cleveland did that. Cleveland's now off to round 2 where they'll go up against Boston. And as you know, the Magic have a bright future, but they're heading home. But when you got to see Denver start out that game right out of the gate on an 18-4 run, I think everyone was saying, maybe we hyped up the Minnesota Timberwolves a little bit too much. And we were getting a little bit concerned with how that game was going to play out. And it was going to be another postseason matchup where Denver just absolutely obliterates their opponent. And they set the tone for what could be potentially a quicker series than what most people thought. And I remember I did a Sports Minute last week when we found out that Minnesota was going to be the matchup. And I said, I'll pick Denver until Denver goes down. But it's not going to be because of a lack of confidence or they're not ready for the big moment, because Anthony Edwards is that dude. And that's the biggest takeaway from Game 1. Because going into that second round series, right, it's one thing to sweep a pathetic Suns team when Minnesota did do that. But the takeaways after that Minnesota series against Phoenix was, man, Anthony Edwards is about to be the face of the NBA. And I said this, and many others said this as well. Anthony Edwards resembles a mentality like Michael Jordan. And I say that very carefully, very meticulously. I'm not saying he is Michael Jordan. He hasn't won an MVP yet. He hasn't won a world championship yet. All I'm saying is he has an MJ-like mentality. And in game number 1, you saw that, where they survived just getting slaughtered right out of the gate on an 18-4 run. And you saw Anthony Edwards pop off for 43 points in the contest. And how about Naz Reid in that fourth quarter? He was sensational, giving you 16 off the bench. So now this sets the stage where you have the first time in a long time where Denver may appear to be vulnerable. And now you shift your focus to tonight, where, yes, before the Denver-Minnesota game, you do have the New York Knicks going up against the Indiana Pacers at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. But everyone is waiting for the game that follows it. And that is the Minnesota Timberwolves going up against the Denver Nuggets, where Minnesota is now playing with house money. That's the way that I view it. Anytime you are the road team to start a series, what does everyone say? You just got to take one out of the first two. And then if you don't take one out of the first two, everyone gives you that crappy old adage of the series, you're not in danger of losing a series until you drop one on your home court, which I absolutely can't stand. But Minnesota tonight, they don't have any pressure on them. And this is the first time in over a year where now the pressure shifts to Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. And don't get me wrong, I believe this series is going 7. I think this is going to be a wonderful series. I'm still picking Denver to win this series in 7. But I'm not going to just quickly disregard Minnesota tonight. Where, yes, I do believe Joker and Murray get the job done tonight and send this 1-1 back to Minnesota. But can you imagine where the hype train is right now for Anthony Edwards after a miraculous season? And what we've already seen before, when you have the team in the NBA and you're going up against them, if he's somehow, some way able to win tonight and show that Jordan mentality tonight, and then you shift this series back to your home house and you have a 2-0 lead, that would be crazy. And I'll sit here and say this now. Out of all the potential storylines that still exist in this NBA postseason, when you look at the 4 matchups that we have with the 8 teams that we have remaining, the best thing for the NBA, even though Minnesota's not a big market, the best thing in the NBA would be for Anthony Edwards to win the championship this year. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you look around the league, Jason Tatum, star. Luka Doncic, star. Like, you go around the guys that are the future faces of the NBA. Nikola Jokic, star. I know the Bucks are limited. Giannis Antetokounmpo, star. But do we really see players that have great personalities? No. Those are players that are great players. They're some of the 5, 6, 7 best players in the NBA. But Anthony Edwards is someone that you know is a star on the court. And then he gives you a lot of personality and a lot of exuberance in his interviews and when he gets off the court. It would be awesome when you have Kevin Durant already out of the postseason, LeBron James out of the postseason, Steph Curry out of the postseason. And those have been the 3 biggest names in the last 15 years of the NBA. It would be awesome with now how many younger players, guys that are 29, 30 and younger, some guys that are in their mid-20s, early 20s that are dominating the NBA. If you see Anthony Edwards take down Denver, then you win the Western Conference Finals, and then you go off to the NBA Finals and hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy. So I'll just ask this, because right now, if I had to pay to see one player in the association, and you guys know me, if you listen to this show, I love Nikola Jokic. Love him. I love Nikola Jokic. Been a big fan of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Been a big fan of Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson, right? Like, the list goes on and on and on, whoever you want to name. Right now, you ask me, Zach, you could put any team you want in the postseason, and I could give you, you have to pay me to go see them, let's say like $300 a ticket to get into the building. The one player I want to see right now is Anthony Edwards. And the reason why is, not only is he a big-time star, but he embraces being the big-time star, and he likes everything that comes with the stardom, and he has an incredible personality. And he could kill you from behind the arc where he's improved as a shooter. We've seen him make some ridiculously long 3-point shots this postseason. He is not afraid to throw it down in your face, and there's an incredible drive, there's an incredible will, and there's an incredible want to with Anthony Edwards. And that's a dude that I'm willing to dig deep into my pocket to go see play an NBA game. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. who is a player right now that you would pay a pretty penny to go see in the association? Samter, let me start off with you before we get to Stu. Who is the player right now in the NBA that you would want to dig deep into your bank account, dig deep into those Samter pockets, big bucks Mike, big money Mike, and pay to go see in the NBA?
There's not even a question for me. I cannot wait to see Wemby play. Because there have been guys who are like Anthony Edwards, who can dunk, who can play like that, who have that killer instinct. We have never seen anything like what Wemby is and what he can do. So Wemby's the guy for me.
So Wemby, to me, reminds me of Shohei Ohtani. When you heard so much about him that it almost seemed as if Shohei Ohtani and Victor Wembanyama were like fictional characters. That you hear about them and then there's just that drive to want to see them play. It's a great one that you bring. And in year number one, Victor Wembanyama is going to win Rookie of the Year, and we know what he could do. And he's just such a one-on-one person with the ball handling skills, how far he could shoot the basketball, and then what he could do down low. Yeah, that's an excellent one. It is tough to argue. The only part is, and like Ohtani, well, we didn't know that Ipe Mizuhara, his best friend, was going to be a degenerate gambler and gamble or try to use a lot of his funds to pay off his gambling debts. So there's still a lot that we don't know about Shohei Ohtani. But Ohtani, where the hype was, it's been met. So far, it looks like we are with that trajectory of Victor Wembanyama when you had Steph Curry, when you had Giannis, when you had LeBron, Kevin Durant, all going out of their way to talk about how much of a freak Victor Wembanyama was. It did register in year number one. The problem is, and this is why it's also similar to Ohtani, the Angels stunk when Ohtani was on the Angels. Now he's on the Dodgers, different story. They're expected to go to World Series this year and win the World Series, and anything short of that is a failure. The Spurs were so bad this year that, yes, all we talked about was Victor Wembanyama, but basketball is such a team sport, you do wonder that how much more in the hype train of Victor Wembanyama there is when they start to get him some better players on that roster. But I love the answer of Victor Wembanyama. Stu, who is yours?
So mine, your two are great. They'd be up there for me as well. But mine, I think, is the most unique player in the NBA. And as unique as Wemby and Edwards are, I think Jokic still for me is there's no one that's close to what he does in terms of being a big guy, the strength, the passing, the shooting, the scoring inside. I've seen him twice in person, and I've been wowed both times. Once in New York, once in Denver. He's just an incredible player, and for me, that's the one.
And as you know, I did try to pay my way to Denver last year to go see Nikola Jokic play, but then Stu's Los Angeles Lakers, they couldn't win a game, and they got swept last year when I had Game 5 tickets, which would have been a clinch spot. So I like all three of those answers. I think the way that I would word it on all three, Jokic is the best player. So you can never fault someone for wanting to see the best player in the NBA. Victor Wembanyama is the player that people are most curious about because everything we've been told about him, and we got to see him obviously play in year one. And then it does feel as if Anthony Edwards' stock in the last month and a half, 2 months, is the one that's rising the most, where everyone knew this guy was a top 10 player in the league. But 2 months ago, I don't think people were saying Anthony Edwards is going to be the future face of the NBA. But right now it feels like Anthony Edwards is about to be pretty damn close, taking that baton and maybe taking a little lead on the future face of the NBA. And we'll see how far he could run with that baton and how long he can.
Now, the one thing I would add to it is LeBron for me would be a close second only because I might only have one more chance to see him.
It's fair.
Whereas Wemby and Anthony Edwards, I probably have hopefully 10, 15 more years to catch them play. So if I did have to make the choice today, maybe it would be LeBron just because of his career ending.
And I don't know how much you've been able to, everyone's watched LeBron, but I don't know how many times you've been able to watch LeBron in person. I think I've seen LeBron play in person 3 times, I want to say.
That's awesome.
I saw him play his rookie year at TD Garden up against the Celtics. We were doing a family trip. I think I saw him 2 times in Philadelphia when the Cavs were playing the Sixers. I think those were the 3 times that I can at least remember. But for Kobe, I got to see Kobe play in person a handful of times. And still Kobe's final season, even though I didn't make it happen, I was trying to go see Kobe play in person because it is that grand finale, the last chapter, and it's kind of nostalgic when you watch someone for 15, 20 years, then go see that person play one more time. But for LeBron, I get what you're saying, Santer. We don't know when his retirement is going to be. I think it could be after next season, but if he went and played another 2-3 years, I don't think that would surprise anybody. So who's the player in the NBA right now that you would pay a pretty penny to see? 855-212-4227. Toronto Maple Leafs fans. Here we go again. I am sorry. So we'll try to give you a little hope when we return. Who's a fan base that deserves a title? We'll do that in your honor, as your team thought you were going out early, then they sucked you back in, and then you lose in overtime in Game 7 up against the Boston Bruins. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We're coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network. It is the Zach Gelb Show. It's got to be so cruel to be a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. So you take a look back at that series, and you're down 3-1 in the series. You split the first two. You win game 2 in Boston, and then you go back to your building, and you lose game 3 and game 4, and then it's 3-1 going back to Boston. You win a game in overtime in game 5, and then you win a 2-1 game going to game 6. And let me remind everyone, Boston last year was up 3-1 against the Florida Panthers, and the Bruins choked that. So in one way, the Bruin fan was saying, uh-oh, here we go again. And then the Maple Leafs fan, after you were down 3-1 and you get it to a game 7, I can't say that you felt confident because you know how much this fan base has been tortured and how many times a team with a Stanley Cup roster, right, and a ton of talent all around, and even they were winning these games without Austin Matthews too, and then he's back. It's like you even start to think to yourself, okay, maybe we're going to get the job done here. And maybe we're going to stun Boston, and then maybe we're going to go on this great run. And then when the game gets into overtime, I felt this way because Toronto did strike first in game 7, and then Boston quickly answered back. I was watching the game on Saturday evening. And when they quickly answered back, I think it was like 8 minutes to go or something like that, I tweeted this out. It feels like with these two fan bases, Boston, who choked the 3-1 lead last year, was on the verge of doing it again, and Toronto, their problems have been well documented. It felt like this was going to go bare minimum 2 overtimes. I didn't even just think 1 overtime. I tweeted, I said, I anticipate this game going to 2 overtimes. And quickly into the first overtime, you did have David Pastrnak end it. Let's listen up. This is the Bruins radio network. This is David Pastrnak ending the series with his Game 7 overtime winner.
Out at center ice, Pastrnak bumps it back for Lindholm. He'll navigate to the red line, throws it to the right corner. It's banked out in front. Pastrnak, a backhand. He scores! Did someone ask for some pasta? David Pastrnak, 154 into overtime, wins the series for the Bruins.
So there you go. And for Toronto, it's womp, womp, womp. Here we go again. And just absolute misery. And I don't know about you guys, Samter and Stu. If your team's going to lose in the postseason, it's like part of you does want it to go to a game 7 because then there were some good moments. But if you just get swept in the series, or if they would have just lost that series where it was heading in 5 games, I do feel like it makes it easier to overcome because then there's not a lot of what ifs that you play, and you can just tip your cap that by far and away the Bruins were the better team. But to win 1 out of the first 2, then go to your home ice and you lose both of them, and then it goes back to Boston, you win, then you win on your home ice, and then it's going to a game 7. that range of emotions is just gut-wrenching. Now, my team, the Rangers, they've been down 3-1 a few times in my life in the playoffs, against Pittsburgh, against Washington twice, and they've come back and won. But I haven't seen my team be down 3-1, force a Game 7, and then not win a Game 7. So I know this is asking, like, which disease would you rather have? And you don't want any diseases, but Stu, would you rather that the death of your season just be over very quickly, or would you rather have it be, I don't want to call this a classic, but an entertaining, wild, mixed range of emotions in 7 games?
I'd rather go 7 because I'd want to at least feel like I have a chance. If you get swept or losing 5 in a 7-game series, it's like, all right, it's not as painful because, but you had no chance. At least if it goes 7, you went toe-to-toe with the team and had a good chance.
So let me ask it to you then this way, because I just wonder if this changes your response. Let's say your Raiders are in the Super Bowl. You probably have to pinch yourself to make sure that
I was going to say, I don't know about that.
Let's say the Raiders are in the Super Bowl, and I don't know, they're like the Atlanta Falcons. They're up 28-3. And you think you're good, because that would be the football comparison here if we use it in kind of the way that I'm talking about it with hockey and what the Maple Leafs did. It would just be the reverse way. Like, let's say your team was up 28-3 in the Super Bowl, and then you lose that game in overtime. Would you have rather just had your Raiders lose 42-17 and get blown out in the Super Bowl, like whatever the Raiders-Buccaneers score was back in the Super Bowl all those years ago? Or would you rather have the thought through 3 quarters you're going to win and then get your heart broken in the 4th?
Yeah, you make a good point. I wouldn't want that. I at that point, just blow us out. Yeah.
The series does make it a little complicated.
Yeah, it does.
But I think it's easier to come to reality if you just have the death be quick and you lose in 5 games rather than being down 3-1, forcing a Game 7, and then losing in overtime of Game 7. What say you, though, on this one, Samter? How would you rather lose?
So it's different when you compare the series to the single game, right? I think the better comparison, at least for me, is like, all right, you're down 3-0 or you're up 3-0 in Game 7, and then they tie it, then you take the lead back, and then they tie it again, then you lose in overtime.
Yeah, that would suck.
That feels more than just, the series. The series, you're expecting things to go back and forth over the course of a couple, of a week or so, week and a half. So it feels different for me to, be down 3-1, then tie it, then lose versus like a single game, blown lead like the Falcons did. So I would say if we're looking at just a series in general, I want a fun, entertaining series. So even if I'm down 3-1 and we come back and lose Game 7, I'm okay with that rather than losing in 5 games because that's going to be an entertaining, fun series. Yes, there's a heartbreak, but you're already kind of resigned yourself to losing early on anyway. So all of it was kind of playing with house money.
But that's the only thing, and that's why I asked it to Stu that way, is because I think if you just ask the question generally, it could give you a different response. But you have a team, like I use Stu's Raiders as an example because Stu has had so much heartbreak. Maple Leafs fans have had so much heartbreak where it's just, I know they got out of the first round last year, but every other year they're losing in the first round, And this isn't a team that, it's not like they don't have talent. You have John Tavares, you have Austin Matthews, you have Mitch Marner. Like, this team is absolutely loaded. And even when it looks like they're about to get out of their own way, the real Maple Leafs do pop back up. Let me play you Sheldon Keefe, the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. This was maybe the worst answer I've ever heard from a coach after losing a game. This is the coach of the Maple Leafs.
It's very evident. Teams play the Leafs. They set up the game for the Leafs to beat themselves. And I thought we did that in Game 3 and 4. We beat ourselves with how we played at home. I thought in Games 1 and 2, parts of 1, Game 2 certainly, and 5 and 6. The way we played, that's a way that can win, and did win. 3 of the games in this series, and didn't beat ourselves.
So I hate that quote for many reasons. You're basically saying the other teams know you guys are so fragile and you'll mess it up that they just set you up to make the mistake. And also, when you lose a 7-game series, this isn't the NFL or the college football playoff. You lose a game and you could maybe say, hey, we beat ourselves. The other team didn't beat us. This is a 7-game series. So if you beat yourself 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times, well, that shows you that you're not the better team. And it maybe isn't that you beat yourself. It's that the other team was just better than what you are. So that's just a dreadful, just a terrible coach. And you basically heard the verbal diarrhea coming out of his mouth after the first 3 or 4 seconds, because I think he realized with how he was stuttering then over the rest of it, just how dumb of a quote that was. All right. In honor of the Maple Leafs, sorry, Maple Leafs fans, who's one fan base that really deserves to win a championship? I will start things off. I will go with the Detroit Lions, and they came so close last year with that lead in the NFC Championship game, and then the 49ers won it, or you could say the Lions choked it, however you want to prefer. Maybe we should ask Sheldon Keefe. Sheldon Keefe was probably like, teams just set it up for the Lions to lose games, and that's what the Lions did. But that's a Lions fan base where they have just been tortured. They've been the joke of the NFL for so long, and it's good to now see them moving in the right direction. And for the first time in forever, you actually enter a season with legit Super Bowl expectations for the Detroit Lions. Samter, who is your team? Just wondering.
For me, it's my former team. Now that I'm a Chiefs fan.
Team?
No, now that I'm a Chiefs fan, I look back at those
Stu hates,
sad,
by the
poor
way.
Jets fans.
Stu Samter hates when you say your former team. Stu always gives me like a look like, can you believe this guy, what he's saying, and he's trying to be a fan of the Chiefs?
He's just pissed because I'm in his division now, and he knows we're the kings of the West, and they'll never be able to compete with us. So I think it's more that he's giving that look. Yeah, I don't think he cares about whether I'm a Jets fan or not. He just hates the Chiefs.
I don't know. Stu gives me a look, and he puts his nose up in the air, and he's like, I can't believe I have to sit next to this guy. So it is the Jets.
I think Stu does that all the time, whether I'm talking about the Jets or not.
It's a very fair point that you do make. Stu, who's your team?
I was going to say the Raiders, but
that's too easy.
There's one team that just keeps popping in my mind, and it's the Sacramento Kings, because I feel like they've kind of been snake bitten the last 20 years. They probably should have a title in 2002 if we're being fair.
Yeah.
With the referee
Bad
scandal.
officiating Lakers. Yeah.
Great fans. They're always loud. That place is always crazy. I just feel like the Kings fans deserve a title at some point.
I don't think. See, I give you credit for coming up with the Kings, because if I ask this question to everyone here at this company, like here in this office, working for Infinity Sports Network, who's a fan base that deserves a title, I think a lot of people would have said Cleveland. I think a lot of people would have said Detroit. Samter, sure. A lot of people would have said the Jets. I don't think anyone would have said the Sacramento Kings, but it is a phenomenal answer. Let me go to Ack. Who's a fan base? We take the Lions, the Jets, and the Kings off the board that deserves to win an NBA championship.
The Knicks.
There we go. Look at Ack. Is that why you're wearing blue today?
No, just first clean thing.
Did Mark Pope pitch you up? Are you trying to be an assistant for Kentucky?
No, I would like. I have a resume into Hubert Davis. Come on, Hubert, let's go. I'm waiting. Tobacco Road's calling.
Yeah.
So
the Knicks would definitely be deserving, and those fans
they've come close.
They celebrated that first round like they won a championship.
Well, it was a tough first round. 3 more to go.
We'll see as the Knicks do go up against the Pacers tonight. Are you going to be in the building trying to stir it up with Reggie Miller with your dear friend Spike Lee?
I'll be here.
Oh, okay, that's true. I don't know. I thought you were going to maybe big time get out of the shift early, go hang out with Spike Lee, your dear friend, and
definitely
poke fun
not.
at Reggie Miller.
I hated that moment. I was, and Marv said it perfectly. Yes. Spike has to realize he's not part of the game, and I was like, yes, exactly. Yes. Sit down. And that game really bothered me. I remember watching that.
Your Marv Albert's incredible.
Yes, and thank you for not texting me during the Ranger game yesterday. I appreciated that.
Yes, I learned my lesson after the first time. I just said I will avoid.
I watched it live, but I'm just saying.
I will avoid all text to Ack, and I will just do what a lot of people don't do anymore, talk to Ack in person I see him.
That's right.
So interpersonal communication, we're big fans of that here at Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, I love Ryan Hickey. And I always appreciate people trying. And I've done things in my radio career that I've tried, and some people have said they bombed. But we got to get into the news brief next. And Hickey rapped last night on the network. And I think a lot of people are still crying and screaming in fear from this Hickey rap. We'll get to that on the other side. Update time first. Here is Marv Albert, Rich Ackerman. I don't even know anymore. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And we are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today. The Mavericks moved into the second round of the playoffs, and Jason Kidd isn't going anywhere. After speculation linking him to the Lakers, the Mavericks have given their head coach an extension. The defending champs had an easy time in the first round. The next series already is more difficult. Denver hosts Minnesota tonight after dropping the opener on Saturday. Anthony Edwards at 43 to lead the Wolves, but Denver head coach Michael Malone said the All-Star guard had a great supporting cast that they also have to account for.
We can do a lot of things better, give him different looks, but I worry about more of the other guys. How can we take away Conley, Towns, and Naz Reid and not allow them not only have the impact, but those guys didn't miss. They didn't feel us at all.
Denver did not lose a series opener in last year's title run. Another second-round series begins tonight in New York, where the Knicks host the Pacers. Both teams coming off a 6-game series victory in round one. Rick Bowness retiring after 38 years as an NHL coach. He led the Jets to 110 points this year before they lost to Colorado in the first round of the playoffs. I'm Rich Eckham.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X and like us on Facebook. Our handle is @INF Sportsnet on X and INF Sportsnet for Facebook.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
It's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. So Kendrick Lamar and Drake, if you care and if you have not missed this, I don't know how you can miss it, but they are in a big time war right now, and like diss tracks after diss track. So a lot of times things outside of the sports world happens and we try to incorporate them into the sports world and do a topic out of it. That is not uncommon in radio. So I guess Hickey did like a diss track about rapping about the first round of the NBA playoffs so far. Now, I love Ryan Hickey. I think Ryan Hickey's phenomenal. He worked with me for a long time. Make sure you listen to him every Sunday, Hick at Night, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern time. But I was so surprised he did this. I'm glad he's coming out of his comfort zone a little bit, because he has made it clear to me numerous times he's like musically challenged and he has like no sense of rhythm as well. So when I saw this clip that he was rapping, I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 no. And I was hoping that I was going to be blown away. But even Samter said it to me when I walked into the office today. He goes, outside of Shep, who we'll get to at 4:20 p.m. Eastern time today, there's a tease. Outside of Shep saying that he could outlast Mike Tyson in a boxing ring, that being the worst thing he's ever heard on this network, Hickey then is right after him with this rap.
All right, here we go. And Edwards is a star. I'm 100% right. Clark Kent wishes he were him every single night. Sun shone as bright as the eclipse. Kevin Durant speaks Frank Vogel's name, only to burden him of blame. Katie's got no shame, and it's getting pretty lame. Lakers look like fakers when they play at Mile High. Darwinham just got fired. That ain't a lie. Jokic went to work, cooked LeBron and AD. Did he send James into retirement? Maybe. Since LeBron's future's in question, let me get a mention. Pels get swept and go home without a win. Ash Chuck says, have fun in Galveston. Thunder got them dogs, led by SGA. Will he take them all the way? Some will say he may. Philly goes home early yet again. Will Embiid ever break through? I don't think he can. Embiid in the fourth. Shots he doesn't make. He got cooked like Kendrick did Drake. Spider lifted Cavs past Orlando. When they play the Celtics, they'll be saying, oh no. No Giannis, no Dame. Doc is pretty lame. He ain't Himmy when they're missing Jimmy. Round 2 is here with a lot of bite.
He's still going?
You're listening to Hick at Night.
He's just so stiff. Like, some of the lyrics are okay, but the delivery has no rhythm, no flow. He's just stiff. Like, if this is American Idol and I'm Simon Cowell, Stu, you could be Paula Abdul, and Samter could be Randy Jackson, that's a no for me, dog. Like, I'm cutting him within the first mess up, like in what was the second or the third verse. That was just terrible. Stu, you know Hickey well. He's a friend of yours. What did you think? It
was a very good effort. It just doesn't do it for me. I can't. That's
okay,
all I can give
Pinocchio.
it. Good effort.
Samter. Samter would be kind of the Simon Cowell of this group. What did you think of it?
It's honestly the worst thing I've ever heard in the history of radio. I love Ryan Hickey. I really do. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. Like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, like, the cheesy old teacher trying to, like, get cool with his young students by rapping in front of the class. It is the worst thing I've ever heard in radio. And honestly, like, not only is his delivery bad, but he stumbles over himself, completely loses the beat. And if you're good musically, you can catch yourself back up.
Yeah.
He doesn't recover. He's off the rest of the song. After he messes up that first lyric, he's gone the rest of the song. It's so bad. And this idea that, the lyrics were actually pretty good. And it was terrible.
That's
Nothing was interesting or funny. It was so bad. I love Ryan Hickey. Come on, dude. Be better.
My favorite is, I forget, it was like midway through, his voice just cracked on one of the delivery of the lines, and I'm like, oh boy. I wonder who's producing him. I would have just dumped the whole thing. I would have just dumped it for like a minute, and then you just avoided making the air. And that's the other thing. He posted it afterwards. Like, Hickey doesn't care about the shade. He had to know that was bad. I don't think you're posting that thinking it was good. So there is hot take Hickey. Let's get to Ty Lue. Some rumors that maybe he jumped ship from the Clippers to the Lakers. I saw Jason Kidd just inked a new extension, so I guess he's not going. He's been rumored as well. Ty Lue, does he want an extension with the Clippers?
I hope so. I hope so. Like, I didn't come here to bounce around and, go all over the place. And Mr. Ballmer, Lawrence, Mark, Trent, Gillian, they've all been great to me. And this is where I want to be. And hopefully they feel the same way, and so I haven't had a better experience. Just having a great relationship with the owner, with the front office, it's great. And so, I would love to be here long term.
So we'll see if they get a deal done. Even if they don't get a deal done, he's not a free agent after this year, so it's not like he could just walk. It's not as if his contract's expiring, so if he really wants to be the coach of the Lakers, the Clippers would have to trade him there. And Stu, I don't think you could imagine that the Clippers are going to play nice here and trade Ty Lue to the Lakers.
No shot. Why should they?
Let's go to Anthony Edwards. So Minnesota got off to that 18-4 run, and then they lost the lead, and then they took the game in the fourth quarter. This is Anthony Edwards on his motivation to beat Denver after having a 1-0 lead.
I lost to these guys last year, and they are the defending champs. They're a hard team to beat. Great team. They got great players. They got the best player in the league with Nikola Jokic. To me, they got the best closer with Jamal Murray. The best three-point shooter with Michael Porter Jr. So it's tough to beat this team. It's not just my mentality; it's the team mentality. We come in and we know it's going to be a war, and we just play within the game and just stay within the game. They make runs. We know we got to make our runs and just fight, man. It's going to be a fight.
So we know Minnesota has taken a 1-0 lead. We'll see if they can make it 2-0 tonight before going back to Minnesota. I think a lot of people expect Denver to tie it up, but it would take the Anthony Edwards hype train to a different level if Minnesota can go up 2-0 before they do return to their home building. Let's go to Jimmy Butler. I saw this on social media, on Twitter over the weekend. He talks some smack to the Celtics and the Knicks.
Video this. You got it? Yep. 1, 2, 3, action. If I was playing, Boston would be at home. New York, damn sure would be home. I love Tibbs, but I don't want to. I love Tibbs. I love you, baby. I want to beat you to a pulp. You want me, I don't want you. It's like a one-sided relationship. You in love with me, and I love you, but I'm not in love with you. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a bad look for Jimmy Butler. You weren't healthy. You weren't playing. So I think you should just shut up. And guess who also thinks that? Pat Riley. Listen to Pat Riley earlier today.
For him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling? Or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams.
Oh, boy. So I think Pat Riley is dead on, but you know how sensitive some of these NBA stars are? I already said this last week, that they shouldn't give Jimmy Butler an extension, and he's going to look for one this offseason, and he's not a free agent. But if that's how you're starting this, and we haven't even got to the contract negotiating part yet, I know that Pat Riley later on in his press conference said he wants Jimmy back, but I think this is going to be a marriage that's going to be ending this offseason. So I love me hockey play-by-play calls this time of the year. You know that the Lightning are already out, so there goes Dave Mishkin. He screams like a lunatic. He's awesome. Let's hear Sportsnet TV. This was the game-winning goal early into the third period, as you did have the Stars end up winning Game 7 up against the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights.
Back around for Harley. Johnston for Dallas in the first. Howden for Vegas in the second. Here's Craig Smith back out for Foxa. Backhand shot. Score!
And that was on TNT last night, or TBS, I think the game was on. Here is Artemi Panarin. He puts the Rangers up 4-2. Got a little puck luck. This is Sam Rosen on the Rangers Radio Network.
Chipped ahead by Burns, but knocked down by Lafreniere. Leads Panarin. Left circle. He shoots, save. No! He scores! He scores! It went through Freddie Anderson, and the Rangers lead 4-2.
And the Rangers take a 1-0 lead in the series up against the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's go to Tom Brady. He roasts the NFL and Roger Goodell over Deflategate at the roast of TB12 last night.
We got so many great football greats here tonight. But where's Roger Goodell? Remember Deflategate? The NFL spent $20 million and found that it was more probable than not that I was generally aware that someone may have deflated my footballs. You could have just given me the $20 million and I would just told you I did it.
That's pretty awesome. Let's hear Julian Edelman, last one, roasting Bill Belichick.
You remember when you used to yell at us? Look, holes, the kids down at Foxborough High can make that play.
I've been waiting for this for so long.
Look, hole, Foxborough High is the only job offer you had. Do your job? More like need a job, coach.
I'll say, I watched a few clips of that last night. I did not see the whole thing yet. I thought it was very enjoyable with how many of the former players were taking shots at Belichick, and Belichick was laughing. We actually saw a smile from the hoodie and Bill Belichick, but then he was asked to take a shot with Robert Kraft, and you could tell he may not still be over a few things that Robert Kraft did the last few months, and he took the shot, but he did not look like he wanted to stand in the presence of one Robert Kraft. Alrighty, that is a news brief. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. When we come on back, the TV play-by-play man for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Michael Grady, is going to join us as the T-Wolves look to take a 2-0 lead up against the Nuggets.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We played you that awful Hickey rap a few moments ago. Alan Jeffrey says, Zach, what was that? That was terrible. Tell Ryan to keep his job on the radio. Rapping is not his game. Daly is saying clearly the hair product is getting to Hickey's brain and is affecting him. So some people got a good laugh, or maybe they never want to hear things again after hearing Hickey rap. So boy, oh boy, that was something. You will also hear a crazy Shep claim coming up 20 minutes from now. And I played a little bit of a role in this, having some fun at the expense of David Shepard, who I did see announce the other day that he is resigning as the executive producer of the Bart Winkler Show, and he's going to be doing now the Friday into Saturday, Saturday into Sunday weekend overnights right here on the Infinity Sports Network. So congratulations to Shep on the new gig as he continues to host, but we will set Shep up for his next chapter in life and have a little fun when talking about him. How about Minnesota over the weekend? I love this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And how can't you love Anthony Edwards right now? Let's welcome in their TV play-by-play man, and that's Michael Grady, as Minnesota looks to take a 2-0 lead in Denver tonight. Michael, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
I've been good. Good to be on with you. Excited about the rest of this series.
So take me through your biggest game one takeaway. All they had to do was at least just get one in Denver to show, okay, this Minnesota team is not to be messed with. They were able to do that in game one. What jumps out to you a few days later?
Just the hunger and the poise that they had in that game. And it really stood out going back to that Phoenix series. All the talk heading into that series was, the Suns smoked you guys 3 games during the regular season, and now you have to face them in the postseason. This is a team that you don't want to face. You have all kind of matchup issues. And the Timberwolves took care of business in the first 2 games of that series, really smacking Phoenix. And then you go on the road to face the Suns in a tough environment, and they kept the crowd out of it. Won game 3, stayed greedy, and won game 4, earning a sweep against a team, again, that swept them during the regular season. And so to come into Denver and get off to a good start, Denver goes on their inevitable run, playing like defending champs, and for the Timberwolves to have the poise and the aggression and the will to pull that game out with guys stepping up in the second half like Mike Conley and Naz Reid, and then Anthony Edwards starting the show and then closing the show, just really, to me, just exemplifies the growth that they've had from last season to this year.
The last few weeks, we always knew Anthony Edwards was a special player, but I think it took a while for a lot of people nationally to say he could be the future face of the NBA, and that's been on full display, and I thought it was a serious moment for him on Saturday. You being there for the journey of Anthony Edwards, just how do you kind of put into words what you've seen now for a little bit?
Yeah, it's part of the progression when you have a small market team and a young star. From a Timberwolves fans' perspective, they've been seeing spectacular play from Anthony Edwards all season long. And we really saw him take a step forward when Karl Anthony Towns went down with that calf injury last season. And so Anthony Edwards had to take a larger load with the team, and he's making spectacular plays, and we're seeing him learn on the fly. And this season, understanding when teams are double or triple teaming him and blitzing him, how to make the smart play to set up his teammates, which makes him even more dynamic as he becomes a better playmaker. We know he can score. We know he can jump out of a gym, but making the right play when he's attracting all this attention has been a nice progression that we've seen in his game. So the fact that he's starting to get some, national recognition, and I thought it was great headed into game 1, all of the talk of the Michael Jordan stuff and the comparisons were out there. And so you could understand if he would step into game 1 and maybe a little bit timid, a little bit shaky, but he came out and was super aggressive and then finished with the playoff career high 43 points. He's not afraid of the moment. The bright lights don't intimidate him at all. And all he cares about is hooping and winning. And that's the guy who you would love to see as one of the future faces of the NBA.
Michael Grady here with us. I'm glad you brought up the Jordan point because I've said that before. I know a lot of people have said that as of late as well. He has a Jordan mentality. And I know the Jordan fans are going to start saying, you can't mention Michael Jordan. He's not. No one's saying he's Michael Jordan, but he has that mentality. When did you kind of start to realize that?
I picked that up really early on. I'm in my second season in Minnesota. So I saw glimpses of it a season ago and how much he cares about winning. Seeing him take his game to another level in the postseason, which is something that he's done since he entered the NBA, is certainly a sign that he loves to meet the moment. But I think this offseason, the postseason series against the Denver Nuggets a year ago where they lost in 5 games, and seeing how upset and frustrated he was that they lost that series. They gave Denver all they could handle. A number of Denver players said that was our toughest test of our championship run. And so for Anthony to go back in the lab, continue to work on his game, rise to the occasion for Team USA, although they fell short of their medal goals, that experience paid huge dividends for Anthony Edwards. An example I'll give is this. When I first got to Minnesota, I was watching one of the first training camp practices, and I remember nudging my TV partner, Jim Peterson, and saying, I'm not really noticing Anthony Edwards. And he's like, oh, no, he usually relaxes in practice, but you'll notice him in games. And that was kind of a red flag for me. Training camp day 1 this season, he was dominating every practice. He was crushing it and setting the tone that I'm going to lead this season. That carried over into the regular season, and we're seeing it carry over now into the postseason.
Talking to Michael Grady right now, does a great job as the television voice for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tonight, I just can't wait for this game. This is the most exciting series out of all the second-round matchups. I said it to the general manager of the Nuggets the other day on Friday that this feels like it's a Western Conference Finals, even though it's a second-round matchup. But tonight, I think a lot of people anticipate, right, the champs to bounce back and even this series up 1-1. But when we throw that Jordan mentality around with Anthony Edwards, it does give me a little pause. And I have the most respect in the world for Denver, but tonight could even be a bigger moment for Minnesota because if they go back to their building up 2-0, man, that would be a stunner.
It would be, and getting back to that, the Michael comparisons, it's just, I think people are understanding that this young man is a killer. And when you talk about killers, these guys don't come around that often. And I think it's really fascinating because, yeah, Jordan fans may be a little bit irritated that the comparisons are rising, but the fact that people aren't afraid to whisper Anthony Edwards' name in the same breath of mentioning Michael Jordan says something about what we're all recognizing. And he's such an intimidating and physical presence on the basketball court that he's starting to get that respect around the league. And so the Nuggets, I fully expect the Nuggets to come out swinging in this ball game. Of course, this is a desperation game. There's no way that you want to go down 0-2 heading to Minnesota. At the same time, the Timberwolves are kind of licking their chops. They're like, look, we know that we can play with these guys. We're not afraid of these guys. We know that we can play them. We feel like we have the best player in this series, even though Jokic, all due respect, is staring at his third MVP. But the way Anthony Edwards is playing, he's just out of his mind. I think it's going to be great theater in this ball game tonight, in this game too.
Now, it's only one game. It was an impressive statement on Saturday, like the way that you laid it out. They got out to the big start. Then Denver came alive and they were able to pull away and get the job done, Minnesota, in the fourth quarter. What's your biggest concern, though, for Minnesota in this series moving forward? Just wondering.
You look at the status report. Rudy Gobert is questionable for personal reasons. And so if he's unable to go, the Timberwolves still have depth. They're not facing a team in Denver that has a lot of depth on their roster to begin with. But nevertheless, losing Rudy Gobert and that, what he's able to do on the basketball court. And I hope people are watching. I know there's so much criticism about that trade a season ago, but it's paid huge dividends for the Timberwolves this season. He could very well be Defensive Player of the Year this season. And there were moments in game one where he's guarding Michael Porter Jr. on the perimeter. He's blocking shots inside. He's helping off Nikola Jokic. He broke up a pass inside to Aaron Gordon in a crucial moment in the ball game. He's the quarterback of the defense, and they would absolutely miss him if he was not able to play in this ball game. Outside of that, from Minnesota's perspective, you just want to avoid foul trouble. If you can avoid foul trouble, you're going to be in good shape. And the Nuggets are just going to have to find ways to utilize what depth they do have, so that Jamal Murray, who is still dealing with the calf, and Jokic, they're not exerting a ton of energy. They need guys to step up so that their key players can get a little bit more rest, because the Timberwolves are deep and they're relentless.
Yeah, I saw the news about Gobert about like an hour ago. I saw it pop up on my feed. Is there any clarity? I know that he's questionable for the game. Who knows if he's going to play? But is there any clarity on one way or another what his status is going to be? Or is this going to be right down to tip off?
We should know very soon on whether or not he's going to be able to make it out and get here. So I know it's a family thing, and but the hope is that he'll be able to make it to game time. He wants to be there for his brothers, but family is important right now. So can't say one way or another whether or not it's going to happen.
Wrap it up with Michael Grady. Let me ask you about Jaden McDaniels. I loved what Anthony Edwards said before the start of the Suns series. It paid off in a big way. Just how about his growth that you've seen out of him as a player?
He was 0 for 7 in game one, but still had a dramatic impact on the game with what he's able to do defensively. And his growth, speaking of Jaden McDaniels, has been, I remember going back to media day talking to his teammates, and they all to a man said he's my favorite player on the team. Wow. And he has a thankless role to where you have, your point guard who's distributing and making everybody happy. Anthony Edwards has to get his. Karl Anthony Towns has to get his. Rudy Gobert is going to be playing cleanup, but he's going to have his opportunities. And then you have Jaden McDaniels, where it's like, if you get yours, great, but we really just need you to defend the best perimeter player every single night and stay out of foul trouble because we need you. That's a thankless role. And he doesn't blink. He doesn't flinch. He accepts every role, every responsibility that's asked of him, and he just goes out there and battles. And so, in a way, he's not the scorer that Scottie Pippen was, but from a defensive standpoint, the way that back in the day, we're going to the Michael Jordan comparisons again, the way Mike and Scottie defensively would just be a menace on the perimeter. You very much are seeing that with Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels. So I love his game. Offensively, it's going to be up and down. He had a huge game in that Phoenix Suns series where he had a playoff career high. Again, didn't score in game one. I fully expect him to get more involved offensively in this ball game and then continue to be a menace and an irritant with Jamal Murray or whoever he's guarding in this ball game tonight.
Last thing I'll ask you, you see a lot of hoops with being the guy that's on TV calling the Timberwolves games. I know before that you worked for covering the Brooklyn Nets as well and doing their games too. So you know the East, you know the West, and how that all goes down. I know Boston, right? They were the best team in the East this year by like 15 or 16 games. Still something's holding me back, embracing how great they could be just because of some of their previous playoff shortcomings. So I'll just ask you this. Do you feel like what we're watching this series, are these two teams, Denver and Minnesota, in your opinion, the two best teams in the NBA this year?
I do believe that's the case. I think Boston, I don't think they're going to have any resistance in the Eastern Conference as long as they're focused. There's no reason why they should trip up. And then OKC and Dallas, all due respect to both of those teams. I hate hearing any criticism of OKC as far as being a number one seed in the West. They are 100% legit. They have a star in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They play for each other. They play extremely tough defense. They are legit one seed. The only question with that group is, of course, experience with every round that they go. That will be tough. That will be tough for them, and Dallas will test them from that standpoint. And the Luka-Kyrie Irving combination is ridiculous. So I think low-key that's going to be a fun series to watch. But the winner that comes out of this series, yes, I would agree with you, will represent the West in the NBA Finals against the Celtics.
He's Michael Grady, Bally Sports North. T-Wolves announcer does a great job calling their games all throughout the season. Michael, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes today.
Appreciate you.
There you go. Michael Grady joining us as we get you set for tonight with the Minnesota Timberwolves going up against the Denver Nuggets. Minnesota is already up by 1. And it's a sensation that is Anthony Edwards. We will take a timeout. When we come on back, I was listening to the network on Friday, and I heard something from Shep. I was watching, the NBA games, the hockey games, just taking it easy on a Friday night, and I said, let me flip on the Infinity Sports Network. And I heard something from Shep that we need to address on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
So remember on Friday, guys, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We were reading that article. I think it came out of The Athletic. And it was, or maybe it was The Ringer. I forget where it was. But anyway, it doesn't matter. And there was an article about how the Bucks should delay or should increase the inevitable. And they should stop delaying the inevitable. And it's time for the Milwaukee Bucks to split with Giannis Antetokounmpo and should do everyone a favor. And I said that is ridiculous. And I said the person that's going to freak out the most about this is Bart Winkler, who hosts right here on the Infinity Sports Network Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time. And I told you guys on Friday I was going to call Bart up late Friday and try to disguise my voice, even though I think it's very tough to disguise my voice. And I was going to try to get Bart going about this topic. So as I was listening to their program about to do this, Shep, who once infamously claimed on this network that he could outlast Mike Tyson in a boxing match, which is crazy to me, I'm listening to Shep talk about, and Shep is really good when it comes to the NBA, obviously, and he's so well versed in his NBA knowledge. So I was surprised to hear this from Shep, even though he could have a zany take or two, that Shep believes he could do a better job coaching the Lakers than Darvin Ham because he's been a successful JV, I guess, high school coach. So listen up. This is cut one. This is Shep claiming that he could have success coaching the Lakers.
But Bart, in all seriousness, man, and I know people have fun with me with the Mike Tyson bit, and we can argue that to the cows come home. I know you don't want to do that right now. I am telling you this for a fact.
I didn't want to do it when we did it.
There you go. I am telling you this for a fact. I would be successful as the Lakers head coach. I'm telling you. I have coached superstars in this sport. I know how to deal with the creme de la creme of basketball players. I know how to stroke their ego, and I know how to hold them in check.
We have a bit of breaking news here on the show tonight. Marco Belletti has changed his Twitter picture.
And it should be me of one right now cringing after what I just heard.
Oh, come on.
What the hell was that?
So there you go. That is the next Shep claim. Like, I want to go to Samter here because I see how mad Samter's getting, and I know how annoyed Samter was with the Tyson stuff. So, Samter, I'm going to go to you here, but just for the sake of getting through all this other audio, give me, like, the Spark Notes version of what Samter wants to say here, a condensed 30-second to minute take.
The Tyson thing was the dumbest thing that's ever been said on radio. This is the second.
Worse than Hickey rapping?
No, Hickey rapping was the worst thing I've ever heard.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't a take. It was just bad.
Okay.
Shep saying that he could coach the Lakers is the second dumbest take in the history of sports radio.
So, this was all impromptu. Right after I heard them toss it to an update, I called the phone line as Alex in Milwaukee. And this is the phone call calling out Shep for his erroneous take.
855-212-4227. Alex is in Milwaukee. Alex.
Bart, long-time listener, first-time caller. How are you?
Hey, Alex, what's up?
So let me get this straight. Darvin Ham was an assistant coach from 2011 to 2022, won a championship as an assistant coach. He couldn't have success, but David Shepard's going to have success running the Lakers?
Apparently, Shep has turned around a high school JV program.
Wait, time out. Alex, I literally just screened your call 5 minutes ago. I thought you were on my side, man. Did you pull an okie doke on me and just lie to me?
Yeah, I wanted to just get through on the air.
Oh, that wasn't right. Alex, come on, man. We had a trusting relationship. I thought we were bonding on the phone. I was excited to put you on, and then you turned on me
Bart
like that.
Caller Standings Committee decides that because of him telling the truth now, Alex is permitted to continue to speak.
That's fair. Well, I was not going to.
My name's not Alex, Bart. I said my name was AJ.
Oh, you lied about that too?
No, my name's AJ. Shep just misheard me.
Yeah, now
he misheard you?
Yeah, I did not mishear you. Listen, if it was like Bob and I typed in Rob, I could buy that.
Me wrong.
Okay, so my cognitive perception skills and my hearing is so bad that I heard Alex instead of AJ is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Bart, I don't trust this call.
And hold on.
Yeah.
And you think you could orchestrate a good huddle when you can't even get my name right?
Well, if I'm being honest with you,
very compelling point.
If I'm being honest with you, and I don't know if you're trying to
very compelling.
25,000 people screaming in the stadium, and you can't draw up a play because you can't hear things right.
I feel like this is like a ringer of Bart's or something that I'm unaware of. I just feel like you're trying to like catch me in a moment of panic. But here's the thing, AJ, Alex, whatever you want to call yourself. I'm going to be respectful. It's AJ. Okay, it really is AJ. Okay, I'm going to take your word for it, even though you lied to me at first and you proved that and you were honest about it. But somehow you're not lying about your name.
Getting flustered.
Okay, fine.
I've never told the lie.
Yeah, of course not. Now, I will say this.
If that would be a lie if he said it, so I believe him on that too.
Alex, I will say this, or AJ. Let's go with AJ.
AJ, please.
Okay, AJ, I will say this to you. You have every right to disagree with me. You have never watched me for 1 second coach a basketball game. So you were just going by a baseless opinion.
I've seen you run a marathon.
You've seen me run a marathon. So which one? Was it marathon number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4?
I don't know. You think I have the advanced analytics on that on me right now?
All right, AJ. Thanks for the call.
This is getting spicy. I was willing to keep taking this, man. This is fun. But eventually he would have run out of, clever things to say.
No, I wouldn't
because
have.
He wanted to call in as an agitator, and that's fine. But if you're going to call in and to disagree with a position that I have or that you have, Bart, at least have the manhood, the adulthood, the maturity, the cojones to actually say what it is you disagree with instead of trying to hide behind, agreeing with us and then lying when you get on the air. But that's just me.
No, I got to side with AJ. I mean, if you're having this tough of a time getting people on the air, how are you going to draw up a huddle?
Okay,
LeBron James
wait a second. Now, if we're come on, Bart. Like I'm pretty freaking good at getting names right. Now, if I've ever gotten a name wrong, it might have been once or twice, maybe. And I don't get Alex and AJ wrong. It would be like Bob versus Rob, or like Phil versus Bill.
So clearly, Shep a little bit annoyed. That was so fun. When I called him, I go, Shep, I think you could coach the Lakers to an NBA championship. He goes, oh, awesome. Great to hear that. I'll put you through. Like, what's the screening process here? Now, let me ask you guys this. Because I played this for my father over the weekend when I was going to visit my sister and my brother-in-law and my niece. And he goes, these two morons couldn't realize that's you? They thought my dad knew right away. Like, he's like, it's so obvious it's you. Did I do a good enough job disguising my voice, or Bart and Shep just a little bit stupid?
I think you did a really good job the first 20 to 30 seconds, but the second answer, I could tell it's you. I'm like, this sounds just like Zach, just a slightly different voice.
The one thing I will say, though, is your dad's heard your voice his whole life. If you're just on the radio, and especially phone line connections aren't as good, it's very easy to mistake a voice. There are certain voices when John in Arkansas, a.k.a. Sully, calls up, it's pretty obvious that it's
Pharrell, what's up, you
there's certain voices that
knuckleheads?
are very distinguishable. You have a very distinct voice, but you're hiding it enough that
my energy was so
in the
low.
back of their minds, that voice sounds familiar. I can't place it. But without knowing that it's you, here's the other question I have to ask you. Did you tell him AJ or did you tell him Alex?
Oh, I told him Alex. The whole
You
thing.
are such you're such a gaslighter. I love it. You gaslight him all the way home.
But I had no script going in. Outside, I was just, because I was originally going to talk about something totally different. I had no script going in. All I knew when I called was I was going to tell him what he wanted to hear, which was he could coach the Lakers more successfully than Darvin Ham. So, once you get Shep going, it just never stops. About 30 minutes later, he brings it back up, and Shep is still annoyed about the phone call. Here's clip 3.
Wait a minute. I did my job correctly, as do you. It's not my fault you got a jackass named Alex who pretends to be a different name when he gets on the air with you. That's not on Shep, and that's not on Bart. That's on a jackass that wants to make trouble for two people on a Friday night because they got nothing better to do.
You think that guy that called has nothing better to do?
I do, because I don't think you lie to somebody outright to get on the air and then admit you lied and then change your name while you're lying. I think it's BS. And we don't get a lot of calls like that. But what that is Bush League. And it's an insecure, miserable human being because he's trying to derail the dreams of someone to think they, or at least believe they should coach Lakers. Now, whether he believes that or not, that's his position. That's his prerogative. But don't lie to me to get on the air so then you can bash me.
So what do you think this guy's like in real life? He must be a big old jerk, huh?
I don't know if he's a jerk or not. I know right now at this particular time, he's got nothing better to do than to call into Infinity Sports Network and lie to get on the air only so he can insult somebody that's a part of that show, who he's never met in his life, by the way. He would have no idea whether I can coach or not, Bart. He has no idea. He's never seen me coach.
All right, well.
But he makes up that he watches me in marathons.
You have done, that was weird.
By the way, I forgot to tell you one crucial part of the story. At that point, Bart knew I called the show. Because as a respectful host to host, I texted Bart after it happened, by the way, I was Alex/AJ in Milwaukee. And Bart's like, I couldn't believe it wasn't your voice. Now, I said to Bart, I know you'll probably break this rule, but just don't tell Shep because I want to tell Shep on Monday. So Bart was being a bit of an instigator there. You sure you never met that guy? He was just throwing the knife a little bit deeper and deeper into the back of David Shepard. Now, to make this full circle, I reach out to Shep today. I said, we're recording something for our show. We want your basketball insight. So I'm not going to play you the entirety of it, but I legit did a 2 or 3 minute mock interview with him talking about the excitement of Anthony Edwards. And then I brought up to Shep that I was Alex in Milwaukee. By the way, talking about entertaining, we were actually just talking about you in the newsroom before I brought you on because someone was playing for me a rant that you had, I guess, on early Friday or late Friday evening when you were working with Bart. And,
Sure.
And someone called you under the name of Alex or AJ and they were messing with you. What happened there? Because I heard your response. I didn't hear the phone call. And you eviscerated that person.
Oh, well, look, I mean, my thing is, we have jobs to do and we handle ourselves as the professionals that we like to associate ourselves with being. And if you call a radio show, you have every right to disagree with the host, the producer, whoever is a part of the show. But don't tell me when I screen your call a certain position, lie about it just to get on the air. And worse, clearly lie about your name. Like, that's the thing that bothered me the most.
And what was the gist of the call? You were saying, and I know you've been down this road before with Mike Tyson, but you believe that you could successfully coach the Lakers is what I gathered?
Well, let's put it this way, Gelb. If I'm in the huddle, I'm not, coming up with the solution of writing out everyone's name as to what the play is going to be. I'm actually going to come up with a play. Darvin Ham was there to be the babysitter, right? Darvin Ham was not there to actually do X's and O's and coach up the LA Lakers. That's LeBron James. He wants to be everything, apparently, for the franchise. What I'm saying is, I would do a better job than Darvin Ham in establishing who the guy would be, who the sheriff would be in town from the nanosecond I take the job, Gelb. You got to remember something. I've coached Carmelo Anthony's kid. I've been successful as a JV basketball coach. Now look, am I going to win a championship in year one? No. But I'll tell you this much. If I'm coaching that Lakers team, Anthony Davis, he ain't going to talk about me the way he did after game 2 and divide the locker room. That I promise you.
What if I told you I was Alex in Milwaukee?
There's not a chance. As talented as you are, you ain't that good. Because you.
Well, Shep, hate to break it to you, I am. I was Alex in Milwaukee, a.k.a. AJ. That was me on Friday.
No, it wasn't.
1,000% not lying. I was going to mess with Bart over the whole Athletic article about Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I was going to get him all crazy and going nuts, but then I heard your take, and I said, nope, I'm going to go prank Shep. It was me.
Not a chance. Not a chance. I got to listen.
I'm telling you, it's me.
Gelb, I've heard you for the last 8 years on the Infinity Sports Network. What was once known as CBS Sports. Nope, not a chance. Not a chance.
I'm telling you,
not
you got punked.
That's not you. That's not you.
I will send you the call log that I *67, so my number didn't pop up. It was 1,000% me.
I've learned from my past not to tell full-time national radio hosts what to do in terms of bits, so I'm not going to say anything. But there's no way this is a Zach Gelb bit, because Gelb, as talented as you are, I would still be able to pick up on mannerisms, language, jargon, phraseology. I know you too well to not know what voice would be yours, even if you're
clearly not. You got it, Chip. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you.
So he still doesn't believe that it was me, which is crazy, but it was me. So that's how I spent Friday evening. It was supposed to be Bart first, and just Shep said something, and I'm like, there has to be a system of checks and balances. Like, Darvin Ham did not do what he was supposed to do as the head coach of Lakers. Darvin Ham, though, was an assistant coach that won an NBA championship. And Shep, because he coaches JV basketball, thinks that he'd be more successful than Darvin Ham as the coach of the Lakers.
I mean, the fact that you straight up gaslit him by lying about your name, lying about the call, and the fact that he didn't believe you when you told him the truth, and he's like sticking by the, I know your mannerisms, I know your voice, there's no way that it was you. I know you took Shep to the woodshed.
And it wasn't even intentional.
And then here's the other thing. Now obviously, like when you were talking to him, he's responding to you as if he's doing an interview. Mm-hmm. But when I hear him responding back to you, it sounds like somebody who's like doing a radio interview and trying to like spin it in a certain way.
Well, because that's what I said we got to interview you for a segment on the show about basketball.
He legitimately believes that he could coach the Lakers. He was breaking it down. I coach Carmelo's son, therefore I could coach LeBron James. Oh, Anthony Davis wouldn't divide the locker room and talk about me like that. That wouldn't happen. Dude, Anthony Davis is 3 feet taller than you. He would tower over you and scare you out of your britches.
But here's the thing. With Shep's new hours, since he's going to be doing the weekend overnights, I probably will not listen to the weekend overnights, and I've hosted that shift. That's not speaking down about it, just been like from 2 to 6 a.m. Eastern time. I'm probably not going to be up, and if I am up at that time, no offense, I'm not spending it with Shep, but it does make me want to use the rewind function and hear how many more because it started with the Tyson stuff, and then it goes into now the Darvin Ham stuff. Like, what's the next? Like Caleb Williams stinks as the quarterback of the Bears, and Shep's going to tell you how since he played intramural football, he could be the next quarterback of the Chicago Bears. It's never going to end, and it's just going to keep on being a circle that goes around and around and around and around and around and around of zany takes. So the only plan I had, Samter, was when I called, was just to say, hey, I agree with you, Shep, in what you're saying. You could lead the Lakers to a championship. And it was the easiest screening process ever. It's like we should have Shep teach kids and do that, and that's not how you screen a phone call. So there you go.
You know, so somebody named Oliver from Philadelphia was just calling, and I was hesitant to take the call.
Oh, yeah?
Because I'm worried that now Shep is going to try to prank us.
I think we'll be able to tell Shep's voice.
You think so?
You know, let me tell you about Bill Russell, okay? He should be mentioned more in the GOAT debate than that LeBron James fellow, okay? It's a good shepherd right here on CBS Sports Radio. Gelb, that Gelb guy, pranking me. You know, I'm not going to tell that Gelb guy what to do. I'm not going to tell him to do his job. He's a full-time radio host, national. But I did not like the disrespect that he showed to me on the phone, taking his time out of his loser life to call up and to say, hey, you're Alex, and then AJ in Milwaukee.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's get the latest update in with the next coach of Kentucky, the great Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, speaking of head coaches, another potential one for the Lakers is off the board, with the Mavericks signing Jason Kidd to an extension. LeBron James approaching 40 and Steph Curry entering the twilight of his career. The NBA is searching for someone to take the torch, and Anthony Edwards seems willing to do so as the Timberwolves meet Denver tonight in Game 2 of their second-round series after knocking off the defending champs in the opener. Edwards had 43 in that win, quickly changing the narrative that had followed him after he was selected number 1 overall.
When I came in the league, the thing was I couldn't shoot. So, I mean, those summers that I had leading up to now was me, C. Hines, and Key was a lot of work, man. Just shooting. Some days we're going there and just shoot 2,000 shots. So, definitely, man, it was tough.
First game tonight is the series opener between the Pacers and the Knicks. Baseball this afternoon, the Phillies are looking for their 6th consecutive win. Right now, they're scoreless against the Giants in the bottom half of the third. Winnipeg Jets head coach Rick Bowness is retiring after 38 seasons in the NHL as a head coach. And one game in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Round 2 begins for the Boston Bruins as they face off against the Panthers in South Florida. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network. It is the Zach Gelb Show. So we played this for you earlier. Pat Riley tells Jimmy Butler to shut his mouth. Because over the weekend, Jimmy Butler's like, oh, if I was healthy, we would have beat Boston. If we played New York, we would have beat the Knicks as well. And I actually respect what Pat Riley had to say. Let's just replay you the Pat Riley part one more time. This is Pat Riley calling out Jimmy Butler's comments from over the weekend.
You know, for him to say that, you know, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? You know, if you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams.
So Pat Riley obviously is old school. And the new school era of the NBA, you can't have a coach or a front office member, president of the team, telling the player to shut his mouth. But sometimes you need that. And Pat Riley is 1,000% right. But I don't want to get into that debate. Like, Samter, I hear that. And we know the contract situation, right, as was reported last week, I think by the Miami Herald, that Jimmy Butler, who's not a free agent, but he's looking for a 2-year extension worth like $113 million. And I've given the take like I have with many stars. You don't pay for the past, you pay for the future. And I would get out of business with Jimmy Butler now, and I would trade him, and I would not give him that extension. And you know Jimmy Butler, who is well-respected, but he could be a malcontent if he wants. And we've seen that before in his exit from Minnesota. And if you don't give him that contract extension this offseason, I think he's going to go into that playbook a little bit. And he's going to make things a problem for the Heat organization. And when you have Pat Riley telling him to shut up, I think that's just the start of what's going to be a very tumultuous offseason for the Miami Heat. And I would be surprised if Jimmy Butler is on the Heat through the entirety of next season. I'm not going to say the start, because we've seen it before where stars get disgruntled, and whether it's a James Harden or a Kevin Durant, it takes until the trade deadline to get dealt. But by the trade deadline, this upcoming trade deadline in the NBA, I do not think Jimmy Butler will be on the Miami Heat.
And it just feels like the Heat have kind of hit that apex, right? Even when they went to the finals, they were an 8 seed, they were a 5 seed. It just feels like the Heat, even when they made those runs, it's just they know how to play playoff basketball, but it feels like it's over. It feels like they kind of hit the jackpot twice, and that's about it.
Well, that's their apex. So I do that weekly with Mark Hochman and Shannon Crowder, going their show on 560 WQAM, and Alejandro Solana is on that show too, and he's part of the Heat Radio Network. And they would always ask me about the Heat, and every time the Heat came up before the season, during the season, even when we entered the postseason, I said, no one's going to want to play Miami. But that doesn't mean that Miami's a team that I expect to go back to the NBA Finals. And even if they go on a run like they did last year, where they surprise people and they get to the finals, I don't think they're winning the finals. Like, their apex to me is what they did twice in the last few years is you go on a gritty run, a tough run. People start to say Jimmy Butler's a top 10 player in the league. And then boom, once you get into the finals, you just get showed that you're a tough, gritty team that's really, really good, but you're not in the greatness category of being able to get the 4 wins when they matter the most.
And so with that being said, you can probably get some assets for Jimmy Butler. You might as well try to move on. And
this offseason or by the deadline you would.
Right. No, this offseason. I wouldn't even go into next season with him. I would try to do it during the offseason to start the season fresh.
So I'm with you. I agree, but I'm just saying if it played out to the deadline, this would be the year to get rid of him.
100%.
Because if he gets hurt again or with load management again and he's not on the court again, I think the value starts to shift away a little bit, and then you're 2 years removed from the second finals run. And then people just naturally go, okay, you're in your mid-30s. You start to get to a spot where it's like, I think his better years are behind him. And, people will start the speculation on where he could land. It would be a tough look for Pat Riley to send him back to Philadelphia. I would say that, but the Sixers could use him. I think the Sixers should pursue Paul George first. And I read today that the Clippers already made Paul George a bunch of offers that weren't at the max. And any offer that he's made that wasn't at the max, which he hasn't got one yet, from the Clippers, he has, according to some reports, he has turned them down. But let me just move on real quickly because I want to spend a few minutes. It's crazy. Did anyone up until yesterday talk about this Cavs Magic series? Like on this network, outside of like a Bogish or an Ack or a Belletti update, did we spend any time talking about the Cavs Magic series other than to say no one's talking about that series? And it's wild that series ended up going 7 games, and it was up until yesterday that no one really ever uttered a word in terms of a basketball standpoint from that series. And, if you weren't watching the game yesterday, the Cavs completed a great, historical comeback where, in a game 7 where Cleveland was down 18 and like, wow, look at the Magic, this young team with, you have Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, you have Jalen Suggs, and look what they're doing. And it was pretty much all Banchero, to be fair. And then Donovan Mitchell, Spida Mitchell, just found a way to lead his team on the comeback and secure the victory. Like there were 2 players in that game yesterday. It was Spida Mitchell and it was Paolo Banchero. So even though the Cavs win, like the Cavs to me aren't a championship team. Boston should be able to get to the NBA Finals. If they don't, I would be surprised, even with the Porzingis injury. And I know the Cavs fans were chanting, "We want Boston" yesterday. Fun to do. And the only thing is you don't got LeBron James anymore. All right, I know you got Donovan Mitchell, but I would be surprised if the Celtics lose this series. And Knicks-Pacers will be a fun series where we know the Knicks like to play good defense and slow you down, and the Pacers like to go up-tempo and just score. I don't think either the Knicks or the Pacers are going to find a way to beat the Celtics in a 7-game series either. So I have the Celtics going to the NBA Finals. So I don't have this great takeaway about the Cavs yesterday, but you watch that Magic team with Paolo Banchero in year 1 was Rookie of the Year. In year 2, he becomes an all-star. I know he didn't play well yesterday, but Franz Wagner, he had a really good season. And Jalen Suggs is starting to be the player that people thought he could potentially be when he was at Gonzaga. That Magic team in an attractive destination in Orlando, a good place to live as well, they're going to be a team this offseason. They should be hunting. And Banchero, he's so big, and he plays like he's a point guard too. Kind of how like LeBron, when he first entered the league, I'm not saying he is LeBron, but that's a star. That dude's a 1. I think he could be a 1 in a championship team, but you need another running mate. And Wagner and Suggs are good pieces. But, I look at Paul George. Why not him there this offseason? And I don't think Jimmy Butler would be the right fit. But, I'm Orlando. I would happily give Paul George a max contract this offseason if they can make it work from my financial standpoint. And I saw that Clay's been rumored to potentially maybe go there too, or that could be a team that could be pursuing the services of one Klay Thompson. I'll get into that though coming up later. I'm not going to give you my answer on if the Magic should do that or not, because Samter, who's been working very diligently today, and as every day, of course, producer extraordinaire of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, he did include that Magic conversation about Klay Thompson and onside offside, which we will get to in about 25 minutes from now. I am not going to rap on the other side. I will not be like Hot Take Hickey. And the first thing Hickey said to me when he saw me in the newsroom, he goes, "What'd you think of my rap?" And I was like, I'm surprised you did it, because you have told me with how close Hickey and I are numerous times before, he is musically challenged. And he goes, "That's a fair assessment." I go, "Some of the lyrics were good, Hickey. But as I said on the air, I go, you should never rap." So I'm not going to rap when talking about the whole Drake and Kendrick beef. But we will go through my top 5 best current rivalries in sports. But I'm looking at that Magic team. They're building something special, and I think they're one piece away from being a legit title contender. Coming on back, 1 more hour to play. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
And away we go, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So we are compelled, or, we have to do some segment on Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Now, I'm not going to try to pretend I know what I'm talking about here. I have read some of it. I have listened to some of it. It's like one of those things that I pay attention to, and you follow a little bit, but once you start to go down that rabbit hole, I think you just get too caught up into the entire beef, where I would rather be on like the outside looking in for this beef than being like in the inner circle and getting fully just taken down the road of obsessing with this topic. And, I've been obsessing with other things. Last night, big night. Not the Brady roast, was not priority number 1. It was Real Housewives of New Jersey did return, so I did watch that. You got to see Teresa and Melissa Gorga in the same room, as it's the start of fireworks season for Real Housewives of New Jersey. Big reality TV fan, as you guys know. So I've been entrenched also in Jersey Shore. So I'm not, there's only so much drama that I could take on. And I don't have that much free time on my hands. Well, if you listened earlier in the show, Friday, I had some free time on my hands. But I'll do a segment here off the Drake-Kendrick beef. And I'm not going to rap like Hickey. And I give credit to Hickey for trying. It just, it wasn't that great. Like, he tried to study for the test, and then when the test came around, he got a 0 on the paper, and it was like, oof, that's ugly. So, with Kendrick and Drake now being a rivalry, by the way, before I get to this, who's your favorite rapper? Like, my favorite rapper is Jay-Z. And if not Jay-Z, Biggie, Notorious B.I.G. Those would be my 2 favorite rappers. We never really talked music on the, like, I am everywhere with music. I could listen to rap. I could listen to EDM. I dabble a little, and I mean a little bit in country. Obviously, I love rock and roll. Bruce Springsteen is my favorite, but country-wise, I've been listening a lot to Zach Bryan recently, who is absolutely phenomenal. And Santer, when we went to the Sphere together at the Super Bowl, and we saw U2, I actually had tickets that night for Zach Bryan. And at the time, I knew who Zach Bryan was, but I wasn't a fan. And for whatever reason, the last 4 or 5 months, it was because I know why. He went on stage. He had Springsteen on stage, and then he talked about how much of an inspiration Springsteen was to his career. So I just started listening to him more, and I like Zach Bryan now. So I'm everywhere with music. Like, I can listen to Dave Matthews, I could listen to Green Day. I could, obviously love Bruce Springsteen, Jay-Z, Biggie, EDM, all that stuff. But do you guys have favorite rappers? Are you guys big rap fans, Santer?
I was in the 90s. Like, I love Snoop. I love the East Coast, West Coast battle.
Were you a Pac guy?
What?
Were you a Tupac guy?
Tupac I loved.
Tupac or Biggie?
Nas was great. Lost Boys, Mace. Even like P. Diddy back in the day. But P. Diddy was a little bit too cheesy for me. And now clearly has all other issues.
Yeah.
But like that whole East Coast, I was more of the East Coast side of it. Tupac started getting me on the West Coast side of it. Dre was great and all that. But for me, it was like Nas. It was the Lost Boys. And it was probably Tupac a little bit as well.
Gotcha. Stu, outside of Taylor Swift, who's your favorite?
I'm not a big rap person.
You love Kanye, though, being a Taylor Swift person, right?
Yeah, exactly. I guess Jay-Z, I would probably say. But again, I'm not too deep into the weeds on.
Gotcha. So you're not going to be rapping when they give you the Stuart Kovacs
That's
show.
right. I'm not. Definitely not.
On the Infinity
I like
Sports
his
Network.
word of choice. Nah, too deep into the weeds is what he said.
Yeah. Cold 45, 2 zigzags. Maybe that's all we need. Head to the park after dark. All right, I'll stop after that. But anyway, there's the little musical portion of the show. But based off Kendrick and Drake, what's the 5 best current, let me emphasize that word, current rivalries in sports? Like, I did not include Celtics against Lakers. All-time great rivalry. One of the best rivalries we've ever seen in sports. But currently, that rivalry does not have juice. Other honorable mentions, Giants and Dodgers, Auburn and Alabama. And also, Army-Navy is always a great rivalry game. But my 5 current best sports rivalries, in at number 5, Ravens and Steelers. Anytime, I get to use one of my favorite words, you have an AFC North matchup, it is a slobber knocker. Always love that word. That's always a fun word to use on the good old radio. But that is a game that is physical, it's violent, and it's one of the few games that we see in the NFL where everyone's fine with the final score being like 17-14. Usually we are like a bunch of whores when it comes to points now. And it's like, we need more points. 35-31 isn't even enough now. You give me a great AFC North showdown, I'm pretty good with any of those rivalries, but there's just something different in the last 20 years when you hear the 2 names of the teams and it's Ravens and Steelers. In at number 4, this has been a one-sided rivalry for a long, long time, but doing a national show, you always realize the hatred between these 2 fan bases and how Bears fans could usually define a season successful or not. Like, even if they were a 6-win team, if they got a victory up against the Packers. Bears-Packers, wonderful rivalry. Rodgers in his final year, I still own you. And now it's going to be fun. It's really going to be fun. Because you look at that NFC North, great division, right? Like, we know what the Lions are. They're the team to beat right now. You know what Minnesota is. We'll see if J.J. McCarthy can be super successful with those weapons. But the Bears have potentially a franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. And the Packers, Jordan Love in his first year as a starter, showed you he could be their guy for the next 10 years. To have those two young quarterbacks with those two fan bases, those two legendary franchises, Bears and Packers, I put them at number 4, my best current rivalries. And at number 3, this is the one take in sports media that I will vehemently disagree with, and I'm not a fan of either of these teams. Yankees-Red Sox. That is still a great rivalry. I know the Yankees haven't won a World Series since 2009. I know the Red Sox have been a putrid product as of late. But whenever you hear Yankees-Red Sox, it just brings back so many memories. And there is always great animosity between those two fan bases. Like, I was at the Sixers game the other night. And at the Sixers game, they're doing the Eagles chant. You go to any event in Boston, Celtics, Bruins, Patriots, doesn't matter. Those teams could be winning championships. You always hear in the crowd, Yankees suck, Yankees suck, Yankees suck. And I won't get a head bob out of Santa or Stu when I say that. And we know the Yankee fan hates the Red Sox fan as well. And even though the Red Sox have won all those championships since breaking through the curse of the Bambino, they've been a better team than the Yankees in terms of winning titles since 2004. The Yankee fan still looks to the Red Sox fan as if they're little brother. In at number 2, it's Duke and UNC. And we got to see in Coach K's final season them meet up in the Final Four. Duke, UNC, it's just one of those matchups, just like Yankees-Red Sox. Whenever you hear it, you know you have to watch. Obviously, I'm talking about basketball here, not so much for football, but it's just one of those historical matchups that never, never, ever does fade, even though Roy Williams and Coach Krzyzewski, Coach K, are not coaching for either of those teams anymore. And in at number 1, I got to be a part of this rivalry this past year, going to Ann Arbor, going to the Big House. Michigan-Ohio State for football, the game. For me, it's the best current rivalry in sports. I'll be curious the next chapter of it. Like, you know, that hatred's not going away, but the fact that they could play back-to-back weekends with the Big Ten championship with all the changes that are going on and, the college football playoff expanding all the way out to the ridiculous amount of teams, at 12 teams that it's going to. It may take a little juice out of their game because it's a landing spot, but whenever those teams do play, there's great hatred. Now, it stinks Jim Harbaugh's off to the Chargers because that Ryan Day Harbaugh thing was getting really, really, really ugly. There was going to be intrigue if this could finally be the year for Ryan Day, but now with Sharon Moore taking over, it's like, okay, Ryan Day, crying Ryan, you don't get the job done up against Michigan this year, well, then people are really, 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 really then going to be calling for your job. So those are some of my best current rivalries in sports. Samter, let me ask you, what is the best rivalry right now currently in sports if you had to pick one?
I mean, it's still Michigan-Ohio State for sure. Ravens-Steelers feels like it's lost a little bit of its luster. Just because, I don't know, it just hasn't felt the same.
Steelers' offense also been a mess for a while.
Yeah, and like we talk about current rivalries, right? Mm-hmm. Like you think about some like the big ones recently, like Yankees-Astros feels like a bigger rivalry right now than Yankees-Red Sox. Because the Red Sox have been bad for a while, and the Astros-Yankees, you have the cheating scandal that was there, right?
But I think that's lost its luster just because for it to be a rivalry. And I know I put Bears-Packers on that list. Yeah, but like people would always say, oh, Patriots-Jets is a rivalry.
No, it's not.
And I'm like, as a Patriot fan, I go, I know I hated the Jets, but I didn't view the Jets as a top rival, right? Like Patriots-Colts, to me, in my lifetime, Brady Manning was the biggest Patriot rival. The Steelers never beat the Patriots, but they felt like more of a rival than the Jets as well. So the Yankee-Astro, I think a lot of people are past the cheating scandal now, so that also takes away a big element of the rivalry. But for a while, baseball, we talk about how just, dull it can be and how there's not a lot of personalities get marketed the right way. That animosity was there, Yankees and Astros, and it was the rare time a lot of people were rooting for the Yankees, but the Astros just kept on banging those trash cans and kicking that ass. And the Yankees were never able to live up to the hype.
Yeah, like Cubs-Cardinals has always been a long-time one, but it feels like that has
What about Cubs-Brewers now with the whole council stuff?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. So, I'm looking at more like current-day rivalries over the past 5-10 years. Lakers-Warriors, Sixers-Celtics, Those have been big ones over the past decade, half decade. Chiefs-Bengals is a budding one. Even Chiefs-Bills, that's been also one-sided, but it's been like 4 or 5 great games. Chiefs-Bengals,
Chiefs-Bengals is actually an excellent one.
That's building up.
I would actually move Ravens-Steelers off my list right now to put Chiefs-Bengals there. Just because of what it can continue to be with Mahomes and Burrow being the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Yeah, and then I also put like Eagles 49ers because there's been a lot.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's been like 2 or 3 years. I need to see a little bit more of that for it to really build up. But it's interesting to see the cycle of how some of these rivalries ebb and flow throughout. Like Auburn, Alabama, to me, outside of Ohio State, Michigan, is the biggest rivalry in sports, but it's just been so down because Bama's just dominated Auburn for so long since Cam left, basically, that we haven't really seen that really good Auburn team that can really.
This year was a great game, and Alabama still found the way to win on that.
You think about the kick
crazy
six.
Milrow play.
The kick six, that was amazing. That was the last time that the game really mattered because Bama's just been dominating over Auburn for so long. But once that rivalry is good, when Alabama-Auburn, when
it's
they're
always
both
something
good,
you watch.
That, to me, outside of Michigan, Ohio State, is the best rivalry in sports.
Put it this way. There are 3 college football games that you always watch. Michigan, Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama, and then Army, Navy. Those are the 3 that if you say, Zach, you could only watch 3 college football games going into a season without knowing anything about these teams and without knowing where they're going to be standing-wise, it would be Michigan, Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama, and then Army, Navy. Those would be the 3.
The only thing I'll say about Army Navy, not to discredit the game at all, I watch for the pregame stuff, and then like midway through the first quarter, I turn off.
Because of the low scoring?
No,
and the lack of passing?
The game is fine, but for me, I tune in to watch the pageantry. I watch the fans and the bands and the music and the flyovers and all the generals and all the pageantry. I love that stuff. But once the pregame is over, I'm done midway through the first or second quarter. And maybe I'll tune back in towards the end.
I'll also give you 2 that could potentially be great rivalries. And I know people will say, oh, it already could be a rivalry for one of them. Or for both of them, actually. But I think more people are going to talk about these for the next 5 years. Kentucky, Arkansas, basketball, with the Coach Cal connection now. Massive. And also, I went out of my way to watch any time these 2 teams played this past year, and they played 3 times. Providence, Georgetown, basketball. With how slimy Ed Cooley was in that departure, and how much I've fallen in love with Kim English, the way that those 2 programs are. I know Georgetown is not a good program, but I hope Cooley gets them back, and then Providence kicks their ass every time they play them. Just because of the way that Cooley left and how he was dishonest and he was disloyal. So that's I want to go. I don't think they call it the Dunkin' Donuts or whatever it is. Whatever they call that. I think they had a name change in the stadium. I was annoyed I didn't go this year. I would love to go see that game in Friartown next year because that's not going anywhere, and that's absolutely awesome. Stu, what's your favorite rivalry? Just wondering.
It's probably still Lakers Celtics. I know it doesn't have the luster that it did, even 12 years ago.
It's one of those iconic rivalries.
It's just iconic. You know what one I really like in college football, and we'll see if it can stay that way with Saban retiring. I think Georgia, Alabama, when they do play, I think is just fascinating, and it's usually for a top 4 spot. I know, and again, you have the college football playoffs expanding, so maybe it lessens there as well, where the loser won't be kicked out of the playoffs, but I think that's always a very good game.
Where are you at, Chiefs Raiders? Just wondering.
It's the same thing. It's like they've kicked their ass for the past 10 years.
Hey, you guys got a victory this year on Christmas, right?
I understand. Yes, they did, but it's still very one-sided to call it a rivalry.
Now I know what my Jets friends feel like when
your Jets. Interesting.
No, my Jets friends feel like when they call the Ryan Fitzpatrick overtime game where he threw the ball to, was it Eric Decker? I think it was. That was the last time they beat us up until this past year, the Belichick last game, and I go, wow, that's so. I think that game was 2015 or something like that. So now I know the other way of that. So it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. What is your favorite sports rivalry? 855-212-4227. It is a Monday. We do onside offside next.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I was thinking about this yesterday, And, this crews together during the regular season, but then it's isolated in the postseason when you have all these big games. We all know Mike Breen. Bang! He's sensational. But ESPN really dropped the ball getting rid of Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. And don't get me wrong, I didn't slobber like everybody else over that trio, but it was a very, very good broadcasting trio, and there was no need to change it. So I guess financially, because of the cuts around ESPN, they make those changes. Breen stays, Van Gundy leaves, Jackson leaves. They're originally supposed to have Doc Rivers there with Doris Burke and Mike Breen, but then, Doc Rivers takes the Bucks job. But listening to J.J. Redick and Doris Burke, it's like they know they have to talk on this broadcast, right? Like, there's sometimes where the color analyst, like Tony Romo, talks too much. He doesn't let the game breathe. But there were times where Mike Breen would be talking. I would see, right, in the Cavs Magic game, I think that was the game I was watching. Yeah, it makes sense. Where they would go down one court, back the other end, then back the other, and then one of them would finally say something. And you could tell, like, Breen, who I love, he's great. He's, like, begging for them to talk at times. So Doris Burke is fine, right? Like J.J. Redick, I don't like J.J. Redick, but I understand what he's done in the podcasting world. But that doesn't feel like a number one booth. Breen gives you the big-time feel. He passes the big-time bar. But Doris Burke and J.J. Redick, no. And we don't even know long-term what's going to be that plan, because if J.J. Redick takes the Hornets or the Lakers job, I don't think they're just going to have Mike Breen and Doris Burke. So I have realized that in the postseason when you see that trio together, and it's only going to amplified more and more throughout. So we're talking about sports rivalries. Some others that I'll mention. Cowboys versus everybody. That's a rivalry. Everyone against the Cowboys. Also, we were talking college football, and we went through the three, where we talked about Michigan, Ohio State, the Iron Bowl with Alabama and Auburn, and then Army-Navy. Red River's always a classic between Oklahoma and Texas. And Stu, to your point, yes, all-time Celtics and Lakers is a great rivalry. I think the rivalries now in the NBA is tough because it doesn't seem like any of these players, any of these teams actually hate one another. That's why when you had it was the Warriors and the Grizzlies 2 years ago get into it, that was fun because it was different. It felt unique now, but it seems like everyone's buddy now in these series. And I don't have an issue with Embiid and Brunson, right, like dapping it up after the game. But, it got to a point where it was like, okay, that was a rivalry that seemed like there was hatred in it this year. And then when the game ends, I get it. I series over. You respect the opponent. I thought the embrace was a little bit too long between Embiid and Brunson, especially with how dirty Embiid was playing in that series. Let's go to Robert in Tucson, Arizona. He wants to talk a little bit about rivalries. 855-212-4227. He's next up on the Zach Gelb Show. Robert, what's happening?
Hey, how are you? Yeah, Miami, Florida State is the best rivalry in college football. You had 15, 20 years in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s where that's a top 5 matchup, and that's going to have national championship implications every single year. Michigan, Ohio State need to play for another 40 years before they have that many significant games in the rivalry.
Now, Robert, we said current rivalries. Like Miami, Florida State right now, it may be a rivalry if you're a fan of Miami and Florida State. Like, I get that. But nationally, that doesn't resonate like it once did because both those teams, not Florida State, but Miami hasn't been able to get back, and Florida State just finally started to get back the last 2 years under Norvell.
I put that on NIL and conference jumping more than anything else, which is their own fault, but, I mean, they did it.
Yeah, but what's the conference jumping point here?
Well, they lost the competition. They lost. In the Big East, Miami had a guaranteed conference championship every single year.
Yeah.
And then that's a draw for players. They're going to be a big bowl game every year. Then they chased money out of conference, and they became an average team, and they lost their identity as a loud, brash program under a Democrat hack like Shalala, trying to polish up the program.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, too. NIL has helped Florida State. They've dominated the transfer portal, and thanks for the phone call. And Miami, their quarterback this year is through the transfer portal now in Cam Ward. So, not fully disagreeing with the caller, Robert, but as I said, current rivalries. And Miami, Florida State, huge rivalry. But currently, it's not one of the better rivalries in college football because Miami has been resting on their past, and up until this year, Florida State was pretty much resting on their past. And I love Norvell. Like, what Norvell's done the last 2 years has been phenomenal. But I can't say that that's better right now than, just for starters, Michigan, Ohio State. Even like Oklahoma, Texas always deliver that game. That game always has juice. So that's where we'll disagree. All right, let's get to a little onside, offside. Stu, hit it.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's onsides, offsides with Zach Gelb.
All righty, Samter, what do we got?
So the Falcons, as we know, surprised many by taking Michael Penix Jr. 8th, despite their offseason signing of Kirk Cousins. Now it was revealed that Cousins left the Vikings in part because they told him they were planning on drafting a quarterback in the first round. Onside, offside, now obviously you can't go back, but Cousins would have been better off staying in Minnesota.
It's a great question. I'm going to say offside, and here's why. He has a better chance to make the playoffs this year in Atlanta in that below average NFC South than he would have this year in the NFC North, which from top to bottom is turning into a heck of a division. So that's why, even though there's an expiration date now in Atlanta, it was going to be both in the same place where he was not going to be their long-term guy. And within a year or two, he was going to get replaced. So Atlanta right now, I think it's an easier road to get to the playoffs. So Cousin would have been better off staying in Minnesota. I would go offside.
Offside.
Future Hall of Famer Aaron Donald announced his retirement this offseason, but Rams GM Les Snead told the Rich Eisen show he might try to get Donald back for a playoff run.
I did mention to Aaron that going back to our Super Bowl run, that there was a player by the name of Eric Weddle who kind of jumped in the playoffs, and we signed him to the practice squad. And we standard elevated him for 4 straight games to a Super Bowl championship. So I did mention if we happen to get to the playoffs again, maybe we'll circle back and see, if the cup's not quite filled.
By the way, Eric Weddle, he once told this to me when he was in L.A., and he was back with the Rams. After every game that they won, he would go right to the supermarket after the game, and he would fill his shopping cart up with ice cream and toppings. And he would have a big Sunday party with his kids at his house. And he had big victory ice cream bowls. Like, I'm talking about a disgustingly awesome amount of ice cream with all the toppings. I'm a sucker for ice cream. So that's whatever I now think about with Eric Weddle.
It sounds like the Munchies. Now, onside, offside, let's get to the question. Aaron Donald should return if the Rams have a legit shot at a title this season.
I'm going to say onsides. He should return. But it is annoying, and I experience this with my guy Tom Brady as well. It's like you retire, and then you can't even enjoy retirement before you or others already speculate about a potential return. Now, I understand sometimes you retire and then you have a change of heart, but I hate the immediate speculation like we're doing right now about someone that just retired, and then all of a sudden it's, okay, maybe during the playoff run we'll give him a call and bring him back. But if I was Donald, yeah, you go. I don't think there's anything to lose. He's pretty much had a perfect career. He's made the Pro Bowl like every year, and I think he made the All-Pro first team All-Pro every year but 1 year. So you go add a second championship. He doesn't need that, but you just further move up and up and up on the all-time great list when it comes to defensive players. So I'd have no problem if he comes back if he feels like they have a legit shot to win a title. I just don't want to have that conversation now.
Now, Klay Thompson's time in Golden State might be at an end, though Steve Kerr both say they want him back. However, Shams reports that there's mutual interest between Klay and the now ousted Orlando Magic. So onside, offside, adding Klay to the Magic would make them a contender in the East next season.
Offside, I think Klay is a good locker room guy. He's too inconsistent for me as a player right now, and it's unfortunate the injuries have made his career not. He's still he was a great player. We know that, but his injuries have derailed the later part of his career. It depends what the number is. if you have to, like, you're probably going to have to overpay if you're the Magic to get him out of Golden State, even if Golden State is trying to get a team-friendly deal. I would not overpay for Klay Thompson with the shape of his knees, and I would go after a star. Klay's not a star anymore. You know, Magic, they should go after Paul George, someone like that, if you're going to go and get an older player with some injury past rather than Klay Thompson, because that team is not that far away with Banchero, with Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs. So you ask me, Klay to the Magic would make them a contender in the East next season, I would go offside.
Offside. Now, the Mavs tip off in the second round against the Thunder, and before the game, they gave Coach Jason Kidd a contract extension, in part to prevent him from leaving for the Lakers job, which apparently he's getting bandied around for. Now, in 8 seasons as a head coach...
He did the good old James Franklin. You throw your name in the mix of a job you know you're not going to get, just so you get your deal done with your current team.
It's brilliant. Now, in 8 seasons as a head coach, Kidd is just 323 and 296. It's about a 52% win percentage, and he's made it past the first round 3 times in those 8 seasons. So onside, offsides, the Mavs can eventually win a title with Jason Kidd as their head coach.
I have a love-hate relationship with Jason Kidd. When I was growing up, Jason Kidd was by far and away my favorite basketball player. Wasn't even close. I can't even think who was second. That's how much I like Jason Kidd. And his introduction was awesome. At 6'4" from Cal. And there'd be a pause. Jason Kidd! That was the introduction. Anytime they introduced him in New Jersey at Continental Airlines Arena, the Izod Center, whatever they called that dump in the swamps of Jersey. So I love me some Jason Kidd. But then Jason Kidd became the reason why I started to dislike the NBA for a bit, because he was with the Nets, barely did anything, won a power play or was trying to win a power play with Billy King, when his best coaching moment up to that point was when he bumped into a player on purpose and spilled water. That was like what I remember from him being the Nets head coach. And then he left and he got himself out and he got traded to the Bucks and got off to a good start with Giannis, and then it blew up in his face, and now he's with the Mavs and he's having somewhat success. I think with Jason Kidd, his career as a player will be similar as a coach. What I mean by that is he'll go to a place, he'll do really well, and I know he ended up winning a championship with the Mavericks later on in his career, but I think there's always like an expiration date with Jason Kidd, because his personality will rub others the wrong way. He has Luka so he can win a championship. He's been able to get Kyrie in a good headspace right now, but who knows how long that lasts. And I think there's always going to be that cloud hanging over that organization. How long will Luka stay? So I'm going to go off sides here, where if he wins a championship, Kidd, like these NBA and these hockey coaches, they get like 6 or 7 jobs. It's crazy. It may need to be somewhere else. So I'm going to go offside here.
Offside. We'll do one last quick one. The Kentucky Derby was this weekend, and 20-1 odd favorite horse Mystic Dan took home the crown.
And I won me some money. Thank you, Eddie Olczyk.
There you go.
20-1. Winner, chicken dinner.
Now, I mean, like, did you put down enough that you're paying off the mortgage and buying a new car?
I won $300.
All right. Well,
I'm not paying off any mortgage, but
that's like an electric bill.
You go out for dinner twice in the city. That pays for 2 dinners.
Beautiful. Well, that's 2 nice dinners right there.
You got to pay for other people, too.
That's a good point. Now, trainer Kenny McPeak refused to commit Mystic Dan to the Preakness in 2 weeks, citing the fast turnaround, thus potentially giving up a chance at a Triple Crown. Onside, offside, horses who win the Kentucky Derby should be forced to race in the Preakness as long as they're healthy.
I know I'm going to get slammed for this, because then people are going to be like, what about the animals? We're going to report you to PETA. If the horse is healthy, yeah. That's the only way you really care about horse racing, if a Triple Crown is involved, or if you just have money off the race. Like, most of us that watch horse racing don't actually know horse racing. We watch it 3 times out of the year for the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and then the Belmont. So as long as the horse is healthy, let me emphasize that for everyone that wants to report me to PETA, I think the horse, once he wins the Kentucky Derby, as long as he's healthy, should be forced to race in the Preakness. So I will go onside, because you said horses who win the Kentucky Derby should be forced to race in the Preakness as long as they're healthy. So thank you to Mystic Dan. And what a photo finish that was. Larry Collmus is excellent calling horse racing. He didn't even have a clue who won. And I was sitting there. I was like, I think I got Mystic Dan. I think that was him. And it was with nothing of certainty other than I just had money on Mystic Dan. And it's one of those bets where I was like, I put 15 down. Should have threw more down if I knew I was going to win. Should have put like, I don't know. Stu, you should have thrown $1,000 each, right? Would have been a nice show win.
Of course. That would have been a great bet.
You know, if we would have put as a show $1,000 down each, that would have been so. Actually, include AC on that too. So if we threw $4,000 down, and I'm not great at math, so I will pull out my calculator.
Be $8,000.
Yeah, 8,000. That'd be pretty damn good. Look at AC, mental math. You went to NYU though, right?
20-1, $4,000.
Yeah. Please, 3 plus 3. I'll tell you it's 13.
Well, hold on a second.
Actually, read $40,000.
Yeah, it's $40,000. Am I doing the math wrong? $4,000, 20-1. That should be $80,000.
80,000. What did AC said? 8,000.
Yes, I heard 8,000. 80,000.
Yes. Sorry. I saw 80,000 on my screen. I have the calculator here. I know people can't see it, but I'm not kidding.
Okay.
And AC just was in. I heard like 8 and then the 1,000, so I thought AC just said 80,000. Yeah, so it would be $80,000.
Not bad.
That's a couple more dinners there.
That would have been great. You could like pick 2 people up in the newsroom and be like, all right, these are these 2 people's salaries for the year. That'd be awesome. We'd make a lot of money. We'd be going to Peter Luger's every day of the week.
For a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We'd fly out.
No one can drink alcohol. We got to save the money here.
We'd fly out to Vegas and eat at Piero's twice a week.
Oh, that'd be good.
Now, if you're going to Vegas, you could eat at Peter Luger's in Vegas. So.
Yeah, but Samter and I were in Vegas. We had maybe one of the best meals we've ever had at Piero's. I don't know. I feel like that's sacrilegious to go to Las Vegas and get Peter
Well,
Luger.
if you're there, it's sort of like you're being loyal to the New York Peter Luger's.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'll go other places in Vegas, and I'll keep my Peter Luger love only in Brooklyn.
All right, well, that's okay. I'll go by myself.
You got it.
More steak for me.
And trust me, if you're going with me, there won't be a lot of steak for you. All righty, we'll come on back. We'll wrap up shop on the other side. Let's get the latest update in with the Yak Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Mavericks are still playing and have decided to take away any future speculation about their head coach, giving Jason Kidd an extension. There was talk about Kidd being on the Lakers list of candidate, but this move keeps him in Dallas, where he's had 2 50-win seasons. Pat Riley is the undisputed leader of the Heat and a no-nonsense guy. Wasn't exactly thrilled with Jimmy Butler's comments, saying the Celtics and Knicks would be home if he was playing.
I thought, is that Jimmy trolling? Or is that Jimmy serious? You know, if you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams.
Butler's looking for an extension this summer. Riley said they don't have to do anything till 2025, but he said it is a big decision on their part to commit those kinds of resources unless you have somebody who's going to be there and available every single night. Baseball today. And right now in Philadelphia, the Phils going for their 6th in a row. They lead the Giants 5-1 top 6. Bryce Harper with his 8th home run of the season, a 3-run shot. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God.
It's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. Of course, it's brought to you by our fine friends at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I always like when this account tweets me, at Zach Gelb. Psych Mampter tweets. You want to know what his ad is? At Moist Mike ISD. It's a double whammy. Psych Mampter and then at Moist Mike ISD. Are the Maple Leafs the Cowboys or the Chargers of the NHL? Hashtag Ask the Pros. They're the Cowboys, the Maple Leafs. They have the talent. They're always in the playoffs. They just never, ever, 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 ever get the job done in the last 20, 25 years. Like the Maple Leafs getting to the second round a year ago was a huge accomplishment. The Cowboys always get either embarrassed wild card weekend or only to the second round. They don't make the NFC title game. So I know we like to compare the Cowboys to a lot of teams, but the Maple Leafs and the Cowboys are a very fair comparison. You know, when you have Austin Matthews, I know he was hurt a little bit. When you have Mitch Marner, John Tavares, like that's a team. It's crazy to me that they keep on getting bounced out. I know Boston's a better team on paper. Boston was a 3-1. They choked the 3-1 lead last year. They choked it again this year, and they bailed their fan base out in Game 7. It's just wild. Absolutely wild. You could submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. From what I've seen so far, I did not watch the entirety of it, but the roast of Tom Brady on Netflix exceeded expectations. I was not a fan of the roast initially because it's like, all right, you know, Brady just retired a little while ago. We just had the Brady last man, whatever in the arena, or the man in the arena, whatever it was, and that whole documentary. Then you had the Apple docu-series, was a complete hit job on Bill Belichick. It's like too much Patriot content for me, legends getting together. But from all the clips I saw, it was pretty damn good. Here is Tom Brady roasting the Jets front office.
Glazer, Schultz, Hinchcliffe, two racist bears. Who picked this lineup? The New York Jets front office?
The Jets always catch strays. Let's go to Drew Bledsoe. He roasted Tom Brady last night.
Buddy, you know, you have more rings than I do, but I've experienced a couple things that you will never experience. The feeling of being the number one overall draft pick in the NFL. And a 28th wedding anniversary. It was yesterday.
That's pretty good. And there was a lot of Giselle jokes last night. There was a lot of low-hanging fruit with Giselle Bundchen. With the karate instructor or whatever that she's dating now. I think Kevin Hart was like, Tom, how dumb are you? Like, you're such a cerebral quarterback. Your wife's doing 8. I think the line was, your wife's doing like 8 lessons a day and she's still a white belt. Like, how did you not realize that? So I thought that was some of the good. I thought the Edelman line here, we'll play it for you again, roasting Bill Belichick. You could tell a lot of pent-up frustration throughout the years was unleashed last night from Edelman to Belichick.
You remember when you used to yell at us? Look, holes, the kids down at Foxborough High can make that play.
I've been waiting for this for so long.
Look, hole, Foxborough High's the only job offer you had. Do your job? More like need a job, coach.
And you could tell how excited Edelman was for that, because the way he said, do your job, like there's sometimes you get so excited about thinking about landing and just nailing a line that you have like a little slip of the tongue. But that was awesome from Julian Edelman. What made it even better was the Belichick smile that he gave, as he was just belly laughing last night. Here is Mr. Mumbles himself, Bill Belichick, roasting Rob Gronkowski last night.
Gronk, I've been watching you on Fox NFL Sunday, and I'm begging you, please, stop doing your job. Do another job. Do somebody else's job.
That's good. Good by Belichick. And finally, Jeff Ross. He roasted Robert Kraft, and I thought this was like nothing. And then Brady got up, and he was a little, keep my owner's name out your bleeping mouth a little bit. So we'll debate if this was actually legit or not. But here's Jeff Ross.
Tom became a Patriot, moved up to New England, and on the first day of training camp, that scrawny rookie famously walked into the owner, Robert Kraft's office, and said, I'm the best decision your organization has ever made. Would you like a massage? I love Robert Kraft. I love it.
Again.
Okay.
So Brady said, don't say that bleep again. What's the verdict? Do you think Brady was serious there, or do you think Brady was just kind of playing around?
No, I think he was serious. There was another point where Gronk was joking about various different kinds of sensual massages, and Belichick kept saying things like, stop saying that.
He brought the whistle, and he was blowing the whistle like, stop.
Those jokes. I think, honestly, that Brady told all the comedians and all the players, nothing is off limits except for Robert Kraft massage jokes. I think that was the one thing that was off limits. I think.
That's so lame.
I think so. I mean, they were making Aaron Hernandez jokes all night long.
Well, that was the most shocking because Gronk once left an interview or threatened to leave an interview when they brought up Hernandez. Now, I have no problem making a joke at the expense of Aaron Hernandez. The guy is a vile piece of you-know-what. And, he was maybe looking up last night and hearing what was being said about him. But, I was not expecting them to make jokes about Aaron Hernandez. But the massage stuff, fair game, definitely something that I thought. The Gisele Bündchen stuff, Kim Kardashian showing up. And then Brady's like, yeah, Kim was afraid to come here tonight. Not about the jokes, but just Kanye had to watch the kids. That's a good line. There was even a 9/11 joke in there, which I am never a fan of 9/11 jokes, but the one that they said last night about the two jets crashing into Bledsoe was actually kind of funny. It's the most tragic thing to happen in that September. But, man, the Hernandez was the most shocking. And there was a lot of those jokes, but the one that got Brady up was no pun intended there. No massage jokes for Robert Kraft. Don't make those jokes. All righty. Big thanks to Michael Grady. Big thanks to each and every one of you. We'll talk manana, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.